Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my Rabbitohs 2021 season review. We're almost done. We've got two more to go after this one, so let's just jump straight into it. Obviously, like the last ones, I'm not going to read out the stats. You can see them right there. Honestly, again, similar to the Manly one, very just across the board consistent stats for a team that you would expect to be making finals, right? Especially top four. Like a higher possession rate, higher completion rate. Obviously more meters for than against. 131 tries, which was the second most scored this season, I'm pretty sure. Just behind, not just behind, but behind Melbourne, who scored like 150 or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, so 131 tries, second most in the competition. 80 tries conceded. The thing that's interesting about the tries conceded is that they conceded more tries, like 10 more tries roughly per half in the final 20 minutes of each half compared to the first 20 minutes. Which means either means they start really strong and get lazy, or they just don't have the fitness for each half or something. Like, maybe they go too hard in the first 20 and then they die off in the final 20, or it means their subs aren't good enough. Their subs bench aren't up to par, which I don't think is the case. I think they have a few good players on the subs bench. But yeah, statistically across the board, what you'd expect for a team that finished in the top four. And yeah, nothing really to say about it. We'll just jump straight into the individuals with the first one. Obviously, we start with the coach as always, Wayne Bennett, who, in my opinion, is top two coaches of all time, at least in my lifetime. I don't know about coaches from, decades ago, like in the 60s, 70s, etc. But yeah, for me, Wayne Bennett, top two coaches of all time, fighting it out with Craig Bellamy. He's been doing it for so long. He did it at the Dragons, he's done it at the Broncos, he's done it at the Rabbitohs, did it at the Knights. Incredible coach. Like, just the way he understands the game, the way he can manipulate the game is second to none. He is an incredible coach. Also, from what I've read, a very likable coach. There's not many players that have worked under him that have sort of said I don't really like him, I don't like his coaching style or anything like that. So very well liked as well, which is very surprising for a coach. Especially to have been able to go to so many different places and pretty much have everyone across the board say, nah, he's good. I like his style and stuff like that. So yeah, Wayne Bennett, incredible coach. At the Dolphins, obviously, when they come into the NRL, so it'll be interesting to see how they go with him at the helm with some of the pickups they've made, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah, incredible coach, top two coaches of all time for me, and yeah, just incredible coach, incredible view of the game, incredible vision of the game. All right, first player, Cody Walker. Cody Walker is a very special case because I'm pretty sure he played his first game in the NRL when he was 26, if I remember correctly, right? It took him that long to get there, and now he's probably the best 5'8" in the NRL. I think it would be between him and probably Munster for the best 5'8" in the NRL. And yeah, phenomenal player. Again, the way he reads the game when he's out on the field is fantastic. Obviously, he had that blunder in the grand final with that cutout to Crichton. I think that was just a bit of nerves because I don't think he'd ever played in a grand final. I don't think the Souths have ever made a grand final with him there, because I'm pretty sure he started in 2015 and they won the 2014 grand final or something like that. So I think it was the year after. But yeah, so I think that was just a bit of nerves and a bit of panic. But yeah, definitely as the years have gone by, he's definitely mellowed out and become much more mature. I remember when he first sort of started out in the NRL, he was very aggressive. He was very push and shove and all that sort of stuff. But over the years, especially this year, I was really surprised by it. There were times where there'd be like a push and shove, and he was the one coming in trying to break it up, whereas normally he would instigate it and push it on further. So really good for him. To sort of mature at that level, and he's really going to have to now with Adam Reynolds gone, who someone will talk about a bit later. But yeah, with Adam Reynolds gone, Cody Walker's the main man now. He is. Yeah, people might argue he was the main man before, but now, no matter what, he's definitely the main man. So he's really gonna have to step up, and we'll see how he goes with it. Yeah, he's definitely got the ability, but I don't know if he's a game manager. So it'll be interesting who they bring into playing the halves with him. That'll be very important for him. All right, next player is Latrell Mitchell. Honestly, I was one of the doubters of Latrell Mitchell when he was first put into fullback. I thought that he'd be too unfit. I thought that he'd be too lazy. But he's proved all of us wrong. He had a fantastic year this year. If he wasn't suspended, I think the grand final goes differently. I don't know if the Rabbitohs win it because I think Penrith were just too classy. I think they were just too good. But, if Latrell's there, who knows? There could have been a moment or two of brilliance from Latrell where he breaks a couple tackles, gets an offload, or he breaks a couple tackles, makes a line break. So who knows? But yeah, Latrell, I gotta say, yeah, I was really surprised by his by his sort of, not resurgence, but by his just the way he sort of fell into fullback so smoothly and so well. I still think fitness is a bit of an issue for him, because in the modern game you need your fullbacks pretty much involved 24/7, where Latrell isn't really like that. So yeah, I think if he improves that fitness and he can get involved a bit more often, a bit more consistently, then he'll be he already is one of the best players in the comp, but he would just take that step even further. Alright, next, Cameron Murray. Again, similar to Jake Trbojevic in the last video, Cameron Murray is the backbone of the Rabbitohs. Without him, they wouldn't be the team they are. Just defensively, he covers everything, he tackles everything, nothing gets past him. In attack, he knows when to run, he knows when to pass, he links everything up so perfectly. Origin player, Australia player, freak. In my opinion, now that Reynolds is gone, I personally, if I were the Rabbitohs, I'd be putting the captaincy on Cameron Murray, personally. I think out on that field, he leads them, he directs them, he controls them. He's a natural leader, in my opinion. So yeah, for me, he's the future captain of the Rabbitohs. Whether it's this season with Reynolds gone, or maybe they give it to Walker for 1 or 2 seasons, and then they give it to Cameron Murray once Cody Walker's moved on. Who knows? But yeah, for me, he should be the captain. If I were picking, he'd be the captain this year. But if not this year, he will be the future captain of the Rabbitohs, 100%. He's a phenomenal player, fantastic talent, and yeah, he deserves it. He's incredible. Right, and then similar to some other teams, I could talk about so many players with the Rabbitohs. I could talk about Damien Cook. I could talk about Burgess. I could talk about what was his name, Mark Nichols from this year. He played phenomenally this year. There was that young front rower. I can't think of his name. If I try and guess it, I'll get it completely wrong. But there was a young front rower that sort of debuted this year that had an incredible season. Right? So yeah, a few amazing players this year that I could probably talk about, but just for the sake of time, I won't. But yeah, just incredible team all around. Right. And then the last player we'll talk about is Adam Reynolds. I feel bad for Adam Reynolds personally. For me, when I think of the Rabbitohs, the first person that comes to mind for me is Adam Reynolds, and now he's gone. And that blows my mind. He bleeds the green and red. He is the Rabbitohs for me. So, letting him go was really surprising. But yeah, talking about him this season, I think he had a phenomenal season. I think his kicking game personally is the best in the comp. I know people will probably say Cleary, but for me personally, Adam Reynolds' kicking and game management is the best in the competition. If we were talking just pure halfback, your classic halfback, your game organizer, your director, Adam Reynolds for me is the best in the NRL. I know people will say Cleary because they won the grand final, but for me, Cleary isn't just a halfback. Cleary for me is more like that Jonathan Thurston, where he can play that halfback role, but he's also a bit of a ball runner, like a 5'8" sort of thing, right? So yeah, for me, if we're talking just a pure halfback, he's the best. Without a doubt in my mind, he's the best. And the fact that the Broncos have picked him up and they've needed a halfback is it's a bit worrying for the rest of the NRL, because the Broncos have a fantastic squad around him. So it's a bit worrying for the rest of the NRL. So yeah, good luck to him up at the Broncos, but I wish he was able to stay at the Rabbitohs, because yeah, for me, he is the Rabbitohs. Alright. And then overall thoughts on the season. They finished third. I predicted them to finish second, and I thought they would make the grand final. I actually thought they would win the grand final this year, and they would beat the Storm. I thought the Storm would make the grand final, and it would have been, and I thought the Rabbitohs would have won it. Because at the start of the season there was the talks that Reynolds was leaving, so I thought this would be his big sort of hurrah, you know, like fairy tale farewell from the Rabbitohs sort of thing, where he'd win the grand final with them and then leave. You know, so that's what I thought. Obviously, that didn't happen. They came third, which was, you know, close enough to second, and then they lost in the grand final. So, you know, I'm relatively happy with that prediction. But yeah, like, you know, it's probably as close as I could have got. You know, it's as close as I could have got without getting it right. So, yeah, fantastic season overall, as I said. You know, second grand final. You can't really do much better than that other than winning a grand final. But, you know, yeah, great season overall. Next is, was this their last shot at a final? In my opinion, yes. Alright. Now, I don't know much about the coach they have now. I'm pretty sure he was just their assistant coach that's taken the step up. You know, I don't know much about him. Obviously, he's worked under the likes of Bennett, so hopefully he's picked up some of his, you know, some of his styles and tactics that he can use with the team. But yeah, I think without Reynolds there, I genuinely think that the Rabbitohs will struggle, because as far as I'm aware, they haven't picked up a proper 7. You know, they haven't picked up a halfback, so they don't really have a game organizer, a game manager there now. So yeah, I think this year was their last shot at winning the grand final. I still think they'll make finals. I think they'll be a like sort of 6th, 7th place this season. But yeah, in my eyes, this was their last shot at making the grand final and winning it. But you know, only time will tell. Who knows? They might prove me wrong. Who knows? The new coach, the assistant coach that's now the coach this year, he could be the best, you know, the best coach of all time. You know, and they could go on and win 3 grand finals in a row. You know, we don't know. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I think this is their last chance. Right. And then the last thing, I sort of mentioned it before, but yeah, letting go of Reynolds, in my opinion, is a disgrace. It's an actual disgrace. Like, you know, call it romanticism, call it whatever you want, but I love the thought of one club players. You know, like Nathan Hindmarsh was one. Josh Jackson at the Bulldogs is currently one. I hope he never leaves. I'd love him to stay as a one club player. Right. Gordon Tallis, I'm pretty sure he only ever played at the Broncos. You know, like just I love that sort of stuff, because it's like, you know, because what that says to me mentally is like, you know, they are also like a fan of that club. You know, like, and as you know, as a fan, you support that club unconditionally. So if you have a player that's at that club and only that club, you know, it's sort of like, it builds a bond sort of thing, you know, because you're like, oh, you know, they could have gone elsewhere for money and all this sort of stuff, but they stayed, you know, they love this club as much as I do, you know, and stuff like that. So, yeah, the fact that they've let him go, I think it's a disgrace. I genuinely can't believe it. I don't understand it. But yeah, obviously, I guess they're looking to the future, because Reynolds is 31, I think. So obviously they're looking to the future. I don't know why they didn't just give him a 2-year deal. I think he's earned that right. I think he deserves it for being a phenomenal player for the club for a decade, right? But you know, who knows? That's business, I guess. And at the end of the day, NRL these days is business. So you know, it's unfortunate, but yeah, in my opinion, letting go of Reynolds is a disgrace. Just yeah, I personally don't like it. Alright, but yeah, with that, guys, that's my Rabbitohs 2021 season review. You know, like I say with all these, if you think there's anything I should add, anything I should remove, please let me know. Yeah, any thoughts on the Rabbitohs last season? You know, let me know. Let me know how you think they'll do this season. Alright, you know, I love talking footy, so I'll happily talk to you in the comments about it. But yeah, with that, guys, that's it all done. So yeah, take it easy, guys, and have a good one.